to phone a lawyer, and refused to let her, a victim of multiple rapes by soldiers, change into her clothes or even put on underwear. They took her as she was, in pajamas and slippers, no jacket, no boots, into the Wisconsin winter, leaving behind her terrified family. David later said to me, "I never think something like this will happen in America. In Congo, yes, they do things like this, but never in America." I'll never forget him saying that. I thought, yeah, right. This is the family photo, taken a couple months before this. Lydia was in kindergarten, Christopher was in daycare. A few weeks after their, oh, hello, skip that one. A few weeks after their arrest, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel broke the news with this photo dominating the metro section. Both these children were traumatized, and I want you to realize that too. What we are doing when we break up families, it's just unthinkable. Every year, more than 100,000 non-immigrant parents are deported and torn away from their children. 100,000. This is what happened to these little kids. In fact, I was talking to them just a couple of weeks ago. Chris is now a 7th grader. He's going into 8th grade. He's a little taller than I am. He was this little button, you know. And his sister is going into high school. So, and she won't have anything to do with anything on this book. No, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it. Tears in a public restaurant. A 6th grader, they don't do that in 6th grade. I thought, oh my God. And the other day when I was talking to him, Christopher said, "Sister, why did you ask people not to give this book to any of their kids?" And I said, "Because it contains torture." And I hardly got the word torture out, and he said, "I don't ever want to read it." That's what we do to these children. They took turns sitting on the couch, holding their mother's place on the couch and wrapping up with her shawl so that maybe she'd come back faster. And if one wasn't doing it, it was the other one's turn. That's how they did it. When they saw a police officer, if they were in a car, they'd dive to the floor in the car and say, "Get out of here, the police are out there, the police are out there." And the driver would say, "No, these are the good police. These are not the police that took Mommy." Oh, you gotta read the book. It's a darn good story. Okay. This is, how did Regina get into this predicament? In 1997, she'd been denied asylum. She appealed. 8 years later, she's still waiting. And we'll later learn that 2 years earlier, in May 2003, the Board of Immigration had denied her appeal and ordered her deported. Notice was supposed to come through her attorney, but because the attorney failed to notify the board when she moved her office, no one told Regina. Now, 10 years after fleeing to America, she is again fighting for her life, but this time it's also for the sake of her children and her family. This was the third lawyer, This was the third lawyer who had let her down. The first took all her money, $4,000, ignored her case for over a year, omitted a key section of her affidavit, then refused to go with her for court, admitting that he was not an immigration lawyer. There went all her money. The second, overworked pro bono, tried not to take it and then finally gave in. But she decided not to correct the omission. Wrong, should not have done that. Did not prepare Regina for her hearing, and then sat idly by as her client misunderstood the questions, lost track of dates, fell apart on the stand, which is not unusual for somebody who's been a victim of rape, sitting with male people around her to judge her. And the male judge, Judge William A. Cassidy in Atlanta, accused her of having no respect for the asylum petition, denied her all relief. And in immigration law, the term frivolous is the worst possible ruling. Cassidy denied 95.8% of his cases that year. If the appeal were to be granted in this case, it has to go back to him. See what we were up against? Holy schmoly. God, are you there? Okay. Detention, I just want to say this much about detention. Today, up to 34,000 immigrant detainees, while we're sitting right here, and asylum seekers are in 250 jails. around the country right now. Why? Why? Because Congress has mandated that we rent these beds, 34,000 a day, must be filled with immigrants. So we keep shoveling these immigrants in. Oy, 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 oy. No enforceable national standards in here. And especially with the private prison industry, you cannot get in there without an appointment. Okay? So they're not following anything. And the problem with the private prison industry often is that their staff keeps turning over without a lot of training. And they've got a military kind of thinking about them. All of this is costing taxpayers, $2.2 billion a year. That's $5,500,000 a day. But proven alternatives could be, an ankle bracelet, regularly calling in, all of that kind of stuff, would cost about $8.88 a day. So why are we doing that? It's the private prison industry that is lobbying. Immigration enforcement, I just want you to know that we spend more on immigration enforcement than on any other enforcement in the United States. $18 billion. This report came in on January 3rd, 2013. Look at that. $18 billion, dollar for dollar. This is our top priority. Not even FBI, which is the next big one. Okay, back to Regina. Moving right along, sister. ICE agents drove Regina downtown into Milwaukee, to the unmarked Department of Homeland Security, where they riddled her with questions. How long have you been working? How much money do they pay you? I thought, what the heck are you asking? I later asked her, did they tell you you have the right to remain silent? Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney present when during questioning. And she said, no, nothing like that. ICE officers are not obliged to notify immigrants of their rights, so they don't. On the way to Kenosha County Jail, less than an hour away, they suddenly took an unexpected off-ramp. Beyond the glittering string of gas stations and fast food places lay a vast, dark area. Regina told me later, I began shaking real bad. I could hardly breathe. I'm in the handcuffs and in my night clothes, no underwear. Her voice trembled. I think I'm all alone. Nobody knows where I am, just me and these two men with their guns. And it all came hurtling back, the rape. Later in jail, her cellmate warned, don't trust everyone here. Some can do bad things to you. Well, 2 days later, she was transferred to Waukesha County Detention Center into a women's dorm. These people were inmates who were mostly drug offenders. They looked down on her, but they didn't molest her. Writers are advised to write what we know, but it's what I didn't know that drove me to write. I thought Americans should know what this system is like and why it needs to change. I couldn't imagine an America where a lawyer's slip-up became her death sentence. So, Kirkus, big reviewer, says this is a powerful account, arresting and inspiring, a must-read for people of faith and anyone concerned with social justice. In closing, I just want to say La Posada Providencia is all about revealing the heart of God. Staff, mentors, volunteers, board of directors, donors, fundraisers, all of us are living reminders that God loves and cares for the stranger. And Jesus' parable of the judgment says, for I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. What you did for the least, you did to me. A single act of kindness throws out roots in all directions, and the roots spring up and make new trees. La Posada, the world is more beautiful because of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Like she says, when you leave here, you're going to know 95% more than most people know about this topic. A lot of information. For the benefit, for the local benefit, we did ask Nicole Campbell with ProBar to come up and give us that local perspective. So, Nicole.
Wow, I feel like I learned a lot, and that was really impressive. It was like a whole semester worth of immigration law in like 45 minutes. I shouldn't have gone to law school. I should have just hung out with you. So I feel like this is really short, so I'm just gonna bring it down a little bit. Sorry. So as she mentioned, I'm a staff attorney at ProBar. ProBar is the South Texas Pro Bono Asylum Representation Project. We're one of the only, if not the only, nonprofit that works within the detention system here in South Texas. This year we're celebrating our 25th year anniversary. We have two projects. One is a children's project, which is a staff of about 40 people, and they cover, I think, roughly 12 to 13 shelters, which house, I think, a little over 1,000 children, if I'm not mistaken. And the Children's Project job is basically to provide legal orientation to every single child who passes through that shelter. And so now I'm sure you guys have heard how many children are crossing into the United States and how many children are crossing into the United States alone. So our job, the Children's Project job, is to make sure that they have somewhat of an understanding of what is happening to them and what this immigration process is. So everything that the sister just explained is what we have to teach the children, basically, which is a whole lot. I work at the Adult Project. Our Adult Project has 4 people in addition to our executive director. We work with a population of about 1,200 detained men at the Port Isabel Detention Center. We see people from Africa, from Asia, from Central and South America, from Mexico, with a variety of different claims. Mostly, just given the location, we see a lot of people who are asylum seekers and who are seeking safety from persecution. Recently, I guess, everybody pretty much knows that there are a lot of women and children who are also coming across the border, and most of these people are coming from, Central America, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico too. And most of these people, not everyone is getting released. There are 2 detention facilities that are getting full of women. And now we have detention center in Carson City that used to be a detention center for asylum-seeking men, for non-violent men who are coming to the U.S., and now it's a family detention center. We have the detention center in Artesia, New Mexico, which is also now a family detention center. So there's a lot of talk of all of these people coming and crossing the border and with these permisos or permits that are able to go and live in the United States, but the truth is that, yes, that happens. There are some people who are crossing in and who are able to not be detained, but by and large, there are many more people who are actually being detained. So ProBar's job is to try to assist those people who are in the detention facilities. So we're fielding phone calls from people 2.5 hours away, asking for lawyers, because as the sister mentioned, there is no right to a government-appointed lawyer. So there's 4 of us who are doing that. It's a lot, and each facility has roughly over 1,000 people. So what we do is we try to provide legal orientation to adults. We try to make sure that they know what this process is like as well. We try to get them geared up so that they can fight their own claim and explain to a judge why it is that they're coming and why it is that they fit into a category of race or religion or nationality or political opinion or membership in a particular social group. How do you decide if you're in a membership in a particular social group? That's a very, very difficult thing to come by. It's an evolving area of the law. No lawyer can actually really truly explain it because it's such a case by